In this video, we explore the process of finding the length of the longest consecutive sequence of our available seats in the cinema. Hello, I'm Jagan from Go With Data. I'm posting this video to share my knowledge in SQL with you. If this assists you in your interview preparation anyways, I'll be happy. Let's see the data set and we can talk about the question in detail. So we are given a table called cinema. Let's create that table. So this table got a seat ID and a free flag to show if the seat is available or occupied. The seat ID is the unique identifier for this table. The free flag, if 1 means it's available, if 0 means it's occupied. So we are asked to find the length of the longest consecutive sequence of available seats in the cinema. If you see this, 1 is available, 2 is occupied, 3 and 4 is available, 5 is occupied. So the longest sequence is 3 and 4. So assume there will be always be the one longest consecutive sequence with the given data. Even if there are multiple consecutive sequences with the same length, you have to include all of them in the output. So in this data set, the expected output is going to be the first seat is 3, the last seat is 4, and the consecutive seat length is 2, 3 and 4, right? So the length is 2. So this is what is expected. So in these kind of sequence related questions, we can do a dynamic SQL or the Windows function is the best option. But few of the interviewers might say you should not use the Windows function, go for the normal SQL. So in that scenario, let's start with the self join and then we can talk about the Windows function. So first approach, you go with the self join. So we just do select from the cinema, make it as C1, connect with the same table, inner join, cinema, which is C2. Now I'm going to say the C1 dot seat ID should be less than or equal to C2 dot seat ID. C2 dot seat ID. So now I'm going to get the C1 dot seat ID and C2 dot seat ID. If I order based on the seats, order by 1, 2, if I run this, if you see this, for every seat, right, for 1, you have the all the other seats 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 got connected, and for 2, the same way after 2, right? So it's greater than or equal, this is less than or equal to, so the C2 should be greater than. So C2 will have 2 means starts with 2 and greater than 2. For 3, it starts with 3 and goes till the end. So this, when you see seat 1 is less than or equal to C2 dot C2, if you see the other way, the C2 should be greater than or equal to C1, right? So you have all the sequence for every seat. Now if you add one more filter where C1 dot the free flag equal to 1. So if you see the 2 and 5, they are already occupied, so we don't have to see it. So you filter that out. Now for 1, you have the sequence of data, and for 3 and 4, we have that sequence. Now we go to the next join. So we have the cinema, self join to cinema. Now I am bringing in one more join, inner join, cinema. So here, what I'm going to do is this C3 dot seat ID, right? So this is going to be a tricky one. C3 dot seat ID should be between C1 dot seat ID and C2 dot seat ID. So if I include this And if I bring in C3 here, C3 dot seat ID. So if I run this, it's going to duplicate more. So for 1, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 before, right? For C2. If you bring in C3, for this 1 and 1, you got 1. Let me order by 1, 2, and 3. More useful. Now if you see, for 1, the C3's seat number is going to be between C1 and C2, right? So the condition is going to be the C3 seat should be C1 and C2. So for 1, it's going to be 1. For 1 and 2, it's going to be the C3 should be 1 and 2. So between 1 and 2. If we say 1 and 3, it's 1, 2, and 3. So the seat ID from the third table is getting repeated between the numbers. If it's 1 to 3, then it's 3. It's 1 to 4, that means you got 4 records, right? So it's getting duplicated. So why I have this? I'm having this as a inner join. If I do a left join, it will be interesting part, right? So the data is going to be the same. Now I'm going to add one more condition here. So here I have this seat ID, right? So I'm going to say and C3 dot free equal to 0. When I bring this on, what happens? Wherever got the 0 part, right? So it's going to be null. So it's supposed to be 1, 1, and 1. So 1 is available here, right? 1 is occupied, available, not occupied, right? So that part is going to be null. And for 2 is occupied, so it just brings out the 2. So wherever available, that point is going to be null. Now if you see this, there's a pattern. So if it's available, it's a null, and 3 and 4 are available, it's going to be null, and 4 and 4 is available, and it's going to be null. So the only change I did is I added the C3 and I put in a condition C3.free equal to 0. If condition is not satisfied, so all the available ones becomes null. Now I get a group, right? To filter out only the available data. So in the where condition, I'm going to add one more, and C3 dot seat ID is null. If I do this, then I'm going to get only the null records which are available. Now if you see this, I got only the available records. Now I'm going to take for this set, right, 1 and 3 and 4. So for 3 and 4, the minimum is 3, the maximum is 4. So if I do this, the seat ID, get the minimum of seat ID, which is going to be the first seat ID, and then the next one, I take the maximum part as the last seat ID, and this I am going to count how many records I got. Count star as consecutive seat length. So if I have this part, it's going to be 2. For 1, it's going to be 1. For 4, it's going to be 1, right? So how will I get the count? I remove the group by, say order by, and say group by this C1 dot seat ID, right? The first one. Group by C1 dot seat ID. I can't give group by 1 because we are doing the aggregation in the column 1. So we can't give group by 1. So here we specifically say you group by seat ID. So if you do this, you get a clear data set. For 1, you got the sequence of 1. Only one seat is available. For 3 to 4, there are 2 seats available. And for 4 to 4, there is 1 seat available. Right? If you want to extend this data, then you can try extending this to see the data much clearer. So 5, let me bring in few more data here. Okay, since if you see the sequence, 3 and 4 got 2 seats in sequence, and then 9, 10, 11, 12 got 4 seats in sequence. Let's try to run this. So now if you see, for 1 seat is available, for 3 and 4 2 seats available, for 3 to 4 2 seats available, and this shows 4, that's 1 seat, and then for 6 it's 1, and then 9, 10, 11, and 12 it's going to be, for 9 to 12 it's 4, and then going down. So the maximum is going to be 9 to 12, which is 4. So how will I bring that? I can use this data set as a CTE table. Let's try to get that out with sorted data set as, I'm going to have this as a clear data set. I'll say select the first seat ID and then the last seat ID, last seat ID, and then the consecutive seat length from the data set name is sorted data set, where I'm saying this consecutive seat length should be equal to select max of the consecutive seat length from the CTE table, sorted data set, right? So I'm getting the first, the last, and the consecutive seat length, and then make sure the consecutive seat length is the maximum of the consecutive seat length from the CTE table. Now if I run this, I get 9, 12, and 4. If I have my default data set here, then it should bring me the 3 and 4, right? So it will bring me, the starting is 3 and the end is 4, and I got 2 consecutive seats. So when you start with, you don't understand how to go, right? So you go step by step. So first you did a self join, and then we got, for every C1 you replicate or you connect with all the C2s which are available, and then the tricky part is you bring in one more cinema table and you make sure that seat ID is between C1 and C2, and you make sure you get all the free, that makes all the available seats as null. So you filter out null, so it gives you a clear data set with the starting C1.seatID, which has all the C2.seatIDs connected to it, and then the group by the null part of it, from the, which is created by the C3, and then you just get all this first, last, and the consecutive seat length, and you make sure the consecutive seat length is the maximum seat length available in the CTE table. Then you get the expected result. Now it looks so simple, right? Yes, but Windows function is more clean and understandable than the self join. This is kind of tricky. The left join of the third table is kind of tricky. If you don't practice it, then I don't think you will get that in the interview point. So you have to practice this to make sure you understand why we use C3 and how the null function is used to group by the seats. Okay, so that's the self join part. Now let's go with the Windows function. Let's start with the row number. Select seat ID and then the free flag, and then I'm going to say row number. I don't want to partition first, so order by seat ID, which is the row number. And then I'm going to create one more row number. Here I'm going to partition for every free and occupied seats. Partition by the free flag and then order by the seat ID as row check from the table. If I run this, row number partition by free order by seat ID from, what is that one? I opened anything here. Select is wrong. Okay. So I got the seat ID and the free flag, and then I'm going to have a row number which is based on the seat ID. So seat 1 is going to be 1, seat 2 is going to be 2, and 3, 4, and 5. And then I have a row number check which is partition based on the free table. So free 0 is going to have 1 and 2, and free 1 is going to have 1, 2, 3. So all the 5 records got split. So now we don't see anything much important. We just see two row numbers. One is partition by free, one is a regular row number. So what importance is going to make, right? So let's add the magic of how we did in the third cinema table, right? So we keep this as the CTE table with rank data as, I keep this as a CTE. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in the same columns, free, row number, row check, and then what happens if I do a difference between the row number and the row check. Let's see. Row number minus row chk chk. So this as a group, okay, from the rank CT table, rank data. If I run this, if you see the group part of it, right? So we have the difference between the row number and the row check. If you see this, you have the seat. Let's order by the seat. Order by 1. So you have row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So 1 is free. So you have a group of 0. So 2 is occupied. You have 1. And the 3 and 4 is free. And you have 1. And 5, you got 3. So if you filter out only the available seats, right? Let's filter out only the available seats and see where the free equal to 1. You see this 1, it got the group as 0, 3 and 4, it got the group as 1. Let's try to bring in more data to see if you can understand the pattern. You can take this off, and if you see this, so 1 is available and the group is 0, and 3 and 4 are available, the group is 1, and the 6 is available in between, which is got another group number, and 9, 10, 11, 12 are available, which got another group. So the difference between the row number and the row check are giving you a pattern, right? The first self join, we had the null as the pattern. So all the available seats, they became null. And if you group by the first c1.seatid, you got the answer. The same way, the row number, it creates a group by itself. So 9, 10, 11, 12 are consecutive seat numbers, and you got the same group. And 3 and 4 are consecutive and you got the same group. Now let's see how to get this data and create the output. Now we go and create this as a CTE table again. You can just say sorted list as, we don't want the order by. Okay. Now we got this CTE table. Now I'm going to bring in the minimum and maximum part. The minimum of, so the seat ID, right? So you just have 3 and 4. You got 9, 10, and 11, 12. And the group part will give you the clustering part of it, a set of that number. So I say minimum of the seat ID, which is going to be the first seat ID, and then I take the maximum again, the maximum of the seat ID as the last seat ID, and then how many records I have. So 9, 10, 11, 12 is 4, 3 and 4 is 2, right? So I just say count star as consecutive seat ID, seat length. So now all this magic happens only if you group based on the difference between the row numbers, right? The group column. So from the CT table sorted list, sorted underscore list, group by the group GRT part. If I run this, do you remember the same table we got in the self join? So the 1 got the seat 1, 3 and 4 got 2, and then 6 got 1, 9 to 12 got 4. Now we got the required final data set. So how I did the final part, right? We can just collect all these one and make sure you get the data. So this one, we can just use this as a CT table again as, and then if you run it, you will get the required data 9 to 12, 4. So whatever the initial data set, if you stop by 5 and you cover up this part, then you get 3 and 4, and the consecutive seat number is 2. So the self join, we just used the third table to create a null part of it to group the data. But here we have two row numbers, one on based on the seat ID, second one based on the free column and sort by the seat ID. When you get the difference, then it creates a group pattern, and I'm going to use that group pattern and then I run it. So the trickier part here is I have row number minus row check, right? So if I change that to row check minus row number, it's throwing an error. So let's practice that one. I don't know the reason for it. Let's try and then we can talk about the error. So this part is good. But when you try it by mistake, if you do instead of row number minus the row check, right? If you run this, you get this one. But instead, if you say row check minus row number as group 2, it will throw an error saying that there is some value error, right? So what they are asking us to do is, if there is a value error, that means the system is not able to understand how to use this number for the arithmetic calculation. So for that, what we have to do is, we can simply add a function, which is a cast function. Let's do the cast part of it. Cast this one as, so in this cast function, you just convert that as signed. And the same way for the row number. Cast this as signed. If we run this, SIG check. Oh, as is separately floating around here. Minus comma is missing. Okay. Now if you see this, the function works. So what they're saying is, cast function, it will convert the number to a signed integer data type. And then this SQL now try to understand how to use this rank check and rank in the arithmetic calculation. If you don't convert this, then it's going to throw the value error. So the same pattern. If you use the row number minus row check, you got 0 and 1. If you do the other way, you got the negative part of it. Both can be used. Only thing is, if you get the error and you make sure that you just cast to a signed number and then you can use it. Other than that, it's the same process. Okay, so that's one thing to take care. I don't know why the error is coming out. If you guys know it, just put that in the comment section so we can learn it. Now, the same row number, what we are doing, first you take one row number for the seat ID, the second one you partition by the free and then the seat ID, and then you are getting the difference, right? So we can simplify this two data CTA table into one. So we have, anyways, you're counting this row number. Here you're doing only the subtraction, right? So what I'm doing is get this, and then you can say minus the row number as row num. So you don't have to bring in this part. So the free part is here. You have a condition here, right? So you can take this off and we can just skip this out. So here we can just add this condition where the free equal to 1, and then this is going to use the rank data as a CTE table, and this is a sorted one. This is going to work hopefully. So the column names group is not defined. Okay, so this one you have to give us group. So now you got the answer. So we just simplified the two steps process, finding the row number and then the difference as a group for the pattern. We just made that as a single CTE table. So we reduced one CTE process and we directly go for finding the cluster using the group, and then you find the rows which got the maximum consecutive length. So if you want to see the code used in this video, then you can go to Growth Data YouTube channel. The playlist, this one is SQL Interview Questions, which is here. We have a Tamil version also. Tamil version will be in Tamil SQL Interview Questions. So if you go into the playlist, you have all the videos related to that series. And in the description part, there is a GitHub link that will take you to the code base. So for the corresponding video, we have the GitHub link. So this one is the 40th one. For that video, you have this link will take you to the code where you have the create statement and the approach. You have the self join, the Windows function, and then the simplified version of it. You have the code. If you want to join the WhatsApp channel, there's a link here. You can use this and join the Growth Data WhatsApp channel. Hope you like this video, and this is one of the trickiest questions we have discussed, and hope I explained it the way you can understand, and hope you like this. Thanks for watching.